Wow, I can tell that's him.
Can't you though?
Yeah.
All right, what is it called? Email? Is it? No. You're looking for an outlet? Yes. Do you have a cue? Yes. There's an outlet right there.
I don't know what's
Send me the link.
going on here.
So your battery for your camera is there.
Oh yeah, I think I got it. I think I just took it out to put it in.
Okay.
Yeah. We got to remember the
I was just
charger though. If you don't mind trying to remember to let me know to not forget it. Thank you. Took it out to put it in.
Okay.
Yeah. We got to remember the charger though.
Hi, everybody.
If you don't mind trying to remember to let me know to not forget it.
Hi, everybody.
Are you starting now?
I'm not starting now.
Okay.
We're gonna give it a couple of more minutes
Yeah,
before
okay.
we talk.
So,
Fatima, would you like to be my
I'm just gonna play
co-host?
The 1 minute video. Since you didn't send it.
What?
It's really weird. I can see myself delayed like 10 seconds. Looks like we have a viewer. Please join our group chat.
I think that's you.
Oh, is it me?
Send me the link so I can tweet it.
Okay, here we go.
Why is Andrew your co-host?
And,
Call him up as a guest speaker.
or do you want to just? It's up to you.
No, I'm doing photography.
Okay, so I guess shop list, like just the main one, is like if you can get like the setup that we have, and then like the signage outside the door, because it has like recording in progress in it. Just like hopefully people come, but you know,
Right, the audience.
yeah, like the audience, like the back, because I feel like that'd be nice, like you know,
Mhm.
captioning kind of thing. And then what's this?
I'm just waiting on Tommy to send me the link so I can tweet it.
I did tweet it to you.
The,
Tweet
Hey
it.
Tyler, what's your clout username? I'm just gonna send you the link.
Clout, the clout email.
Clout page?
Clout email.
The clout
Not-
PR dot.
Your Twitter? Your
Twitter?
Twitter handle?
Oh, like my personal one or Clout's?
Clouts.
It's Clout PR, the number 4, and GSU.
I guess I don't have
so,
you.
like, detailed.
You like it?
Yeah, it's like a little painting on your arm.
I have these.
What does this one mean?
Nothing. I just got it for Friday the 13th.
Oh, what does this one mean?
It's the
Hey
tarot
everybody. We're not gonna be starting for 15 minutes, so get comfortable. We're just getting some last minute things set up. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, this is very stressful. Am I on camera? I'm just kidding.
So,
Am I being filmed right now? Baby, can you text it to me? I don't have signal here. Or let me use your phone so I can log into my Twitter.
Yes, I will definitely do that. We're just trying to get some more followers here. Oh, you know what? I could text it to you. Watch this.
okay.
I still don't have signal to tweet it.
I mean,
Here you go.
hi, come in. No, you're fine. Yes. Feel free to put your sign in and put your name and email. Are you standing by now?
This is exciting. There are a couple people here. Here, let me turn it around and show you. Oh yeah, we have my
Thanks
lovely
for tuning
girlfriend.
in.
And waving is our guest speaker, Andrew Roberts. We're really excited to have him on the show.
This for their live podcast. You put your email on Facebook, they can send you a link. All right, let's show you. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Tommy, where can you listen to this from home?
Do you need a link to our YouTube page? Yeah, we've got a YouTube live broadcast going on right now, and we're gonna start speaking in like
Timo.
7
that
minutes. I'm sorry?
If it's on YouTube, okay. Try live broadcast.
Is that other side open? I think.
It's just, well, here, put your email so we can send it to you. Yeah, just put it right there, put your name and send an email, and they'll send you the link. No, this is for their podcast. You see? Look. No. This is just basically to say, hey, I'm interested in your podcast.
I wonder who our second viewer is.
It was me on the phone.
Oh, really? I'm talking to the camera like an idiot. Watch it be somebody, and I'm making a fool of myself.
No,
Oh well,
for the,
it's all in good fun.
promise. Okay. All right. Yes, add your name on your first name, so we know who we're talking to. And then we'll just send you an email. You just started. You're the first one here.
All of them,
Alright, that's fine. Thank you.
I'll just stay here.
Oh, what? Okay, that's fine too. Alright, whose phone is it? That was mine.
Mine's still over there.
Your phone's
Okay,
not.
I'm gonna put this.
Do you need a charger?
I'm gonna send it to my friends.
Thanks. See you later.
No, it's just-
Okay.
Thanks for dropping by. See ya.
Have a good one, man. Yeah, that's just like the mascot. All right, I'm about to start the call.
You get my text time?
Yeah.
Do you want to put that on the Clout PR Twitter page?
We'll send it to Chanel's because she's the social media. So send it to that group me.
Okay.
I'll just forward it right quick.
This is the link.
Awesome.
Here, I got it.
You got it? Okay, cool. All right, I'm about to go on Insta, and we can start. Hold on, let me do
Oh my god, it's
I'm
done.
gonna do.
I need it.
I'll need to do it.
Do you mind just getting my iPhone charger from the...
Where is it?
Okay, I need two things.
Where is it?
I need you to get put this in my backpack. My iPhone charger's in my backpack, and I need it connected to this. So I'll just keep this in my
Where
backpack.
is your bag?
It's in the wagon. And then also, if you don't mind, can you bring me some batteries? Some working batteries? Thank you so much. We're not going to be sitting around for too much longer. I'm sorry about this. We should have had it set up by now. Murphy's Law? What is that?
Means that anything that can go wrong will. Never heard that before?
I never heard it called Murphy's Law, but it's very true. Hey Fatima, are you going to be taking pictures or recording? What? Okay. Try to definitely get the guest on video. The guest, Andrew Roberts. Is that cool? All right, awesome. Yep.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Woo!
All right, everybody. I'm very curious to see if anybody's tuned in. Nope. Okay, that's fine. Well, welcome, a big warm welcome to everybody who showed up. I really appreciate you guys. It's mostly Clout PR and just the Facts Podcast team here for our first broadcast, but I don't mind. This is been a really, really fun project to work on. My name is Tommy Bronstead, by the way. I'm the co-founder of Just the Facts Podcast. It's been my baby since the beginning. We're super happy to have you here. Sorry, I'm tinkering around with this thing right now. I'm just trying to turn it on. So what are we going to be talking about today? Okay, this isn't going to turn on. It doesn't matter. We don't need it. We're talking about homelessness today, and I realize that it's kind of like a big problem and a sensitive problem. Basically, we have our point of view about how homelessness should be approached and how, other people should maybe consider approaching homelessness rather than, I don't know, some other negative, we've seen a lot of negative sort of ways of doing it. And first of all, let's get into like the different approaches. We have governments and associations, homeless shelters, Salvation Army, for instance, other nonprofit charities. Some individuals do contribute to the homeless population, and society as a whole should be held responsible for it. So how is Just the Facts involving themselves with the homeless? Well, basically, we want to help in a way that will help them most, right? We want to foster like a permanent solution instead of just a regular day-to-day helping them and then not getting anywhere and basically perpetuating homelessness. I feel like is a problem in society. Hegel said it best, actually, that a rabble always exists, and it's only a factor of the economic output. And a society cannot factor for mass output that would be, happening if every homeless person was employed. We don't necessarily agree with that. Let's look into some statistics first before we get into any resolutions and resolves on how to approach homelessness. Basically, right now in 2017, there are 10,000 people who are homeless. That includes sheltered and unsheltered people. It's down 6,000 people from 2013, a whopping 40%. We're doing pretty good in Atlanta as far as homelessness is concerned, but as long as there are people out there without an income, with no shelter or family or property, we have to. It begs the question about how we can help them and what exactly is happening to create that kind of a situation. So there are many ways to help solve the problem, like those different associations that I listed out there. There are, shows, there are other demonstrations and manifestations that will contribute to the homeless population. And we basically chose the third option. BOGO Hot Cocoa was our last sort of event. And we gave out 100 hot chocolate cups or more to homeless people out here in Hurt Park next to GSU. We got the women who were homeless. We got them pads. We got some people socks. We got everybody cupcakes, and we interviewed a couple homeless people too. I don't know if we have footage of that interview. It's about 4 minutes. If you guys will wait to stay those 4 minutes, then we could you can get a chance to hear Andrew Roberts speak, who's currently living in a transitional housing and doing a lot better than he was a couple of years ago. And we were talking about it earlier, and he's a really interesting guy. He likes philosophy and writing, right? And yeah, we're really looking forward to talking to him. So as soon as we have that video queued up, and for those of you viewing it on YouTube, you know, we'll do our best to try to include you in this 4-minute video. So I'll hold the computer, I guess, so you can see it. I don't know if you can hear it though. How long is it?
It's the minute one. You didn't send it to me.
Okay, no worries.
All right, so just hit play and then let everyone be able to see.
Okay, so we're gonna set it up like this.
It's rolling.
Oh, really? Welcome to Just the Facts podcast.
Okay.
Say hi, guys.
Hello, James.
Hello.
Hello, Garrett.
The biggest rewards come from the biggest challenges. I have a daughter and I have 3 grandkids, so I know they're in New York, and if I told her I'm going through it, she'd be devastated. So.
I lost everything. It was all in my first, my medicine, everything. But they don't even have a living shelter here. They got over 10 million shelters right here downtown. We can't give it none of them here. We thought of y'all a lot? Yeah. A lot. Too much.
All right, some people can get out of it, some people can't. Me, I just try to help them.
Okay, so there were 3 people that we interviewed. We interviewed a few others. The general consensus, we had a couple of interesting insights. Some homeless people were talking to us about how angry their community is and what it means to be angry as a person living on the streets. And like a lot of judgments come with that, like, oh, okay, you probably had it better earlier, or oh, you're probably you know, a bad person, I guess. But it's not always true. And we'd like to invite Andrew Roberts. His Facebook name is Andrew Danger Roberts. All right, welcome on the show.
Hi.
Okay, let's see if we can just set this up so everybody can see. All right, awesome. Thanks for being on here. It's
My
nice
pleasure.
nice to see you. We just met today. And I've got a couple questions that I'd like clarified. First thing, let's start maybe with what do you feel is the most difficult thing about being homeless?
The most difficult thing about being homeless, personally, probably the loneliness. Because I mean, being homeless, being on the streets, you're very, very much on the outside looking into society. And it's there's so much like we were discussing earlier, like a us versus them kind of thing. I mean, there's so much stigma, there's so much judgment. I mean, and you know, for a long time, I really resented people for that. But I mean, I have a better perspective on it. But it's really, I'd say the loneliness is the short answer.
The loneliness. Okay, so if loneliness is a particularly painful and difficult thing to deal with, how do you think having a social life impacts homeless people, or how are homeless people impacted by their social lives from beginning to end?
Impacted by their social lives.
Or maybe how does their social life change as they're transitioning
Okay,
from regular life?
Okay, so I'd say it really depends on why you're homeless. Let's just, I mean, from my personal experience, people that I've met here in Atlanta being homeless, most people who, I mean, it's a stigma, but it's also true that a lot of people who are homeless are also addicted to drugs. So it depends on why you're homeless. If that's your reasoning, then it's your family and your friends who were your friends before you had a drug problem are slowly kind of, and a lot of times the reasoning is legitimate, distancing themselves from you because an addiction is a disease that doesn't affect just the individual but other people around them. And so they distance themselves slowly, and your friend group changes from people who genuinely love and care about you to people who are, I won't even say they're fair weather friends, they're opportunistic people. So you definitely have a change in the quality of people you interact with.
I've heard that a lot. I've heard a lot about people who have, like, been involved with others in circles where drugs were a thing, and especially from my other GSU friend, he was talking about how, you burn bridges a lot when you become addicted to drugs. And I guess, like, do you think that if a homeless person was less opportunistic, he would live a happier life, do you think, or not really? I know that a lot of it's material,
Sure.
in that realm.
I could yes and no. I think it has a lot to do with the way the individual views their own situation. I mean, because you can go around blaming everyone else for why you're homeless, or you can realize, like, that more often than not, it's you brought yourself in the situation. I can only speak for myself, but that's what happened with me. 3 years ago now, on January 16th, my wife passed away from an overdose. We were in the middle of getting sober, and we were just kind of like, half-assing it, I guess you could say.
Wow.
And it just it hit us suddenly. Obviously, I came home from work and I found her, and I blamed everybody for a long time. I blamed her. I blamed just the world in general. I didn't want to take responsibility, And so for my own addiction anyway. And it took a long time, but like I said, after I was fortunate enough to take the opportunity of educating myself from my experiences. And so having done that, I no longer blame everyone else. And then not doing that, I'm no longer that kind of person that we're talking about before. So, and also I have to say, not everyone, I don't want to put the idea out that like every homeless person is.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, that like you found a couple of friends who were really honest and down to earth.
Yeah, some of the best people I've ever met in my life. And actually, the counter effect of the loneliness, actually, like I lived in the Bluff. I lived in the Bluff for the past 3 years. Well, past 2 of the 3 years.
And what is the Bluff? Just for
the Bluff is English Avenue. It's the west side of Atlanta, North Side Drive, probably Buxton by Bankhead, Joseph Boone, Lowry, and North Side Drive.
I heard there's a lot of homeless people on North Side Drive.
Yeah, though that's basically the Bluff is like one of the more notorious places for violence. And like, for example, in the past 3 years, I mean, not including my wife, I've had 12 friends die from either an overdose or murder. In the Bluff, yeah. And so anyway, not just that's going on, but the homeless thing. The counter effect of the loneliness thing is that when you do try to find those few gems, like my best friend John and a few others, you really hold on to them. They're really good people, and we become like family, because invariably our families have, cut off from us. So anyway, there are those few gems, but that's not the rule.
Wow. Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, when you were, 2 or 3 years ago, when you first started your journey, kind of into homelessness and out of it, what were your first initial insights when you were on the street? Was it hard to learn to be street smart, or?
Yes, it was definitely, there was a hazing. I want to say, because especially where I went into, I mean, most people, whenever they become, I can only speak for myself. Speaking for myself, I went just, those people who do know what the Bluff is, it's just a really hardcore kind of area. So I was being hazed by like the drug dealers, by the other addicts, by the other homeless people, by the police.
Oh my Lord.
Everybody was coming at me. I mean, because it was really rough. I mean, I had been it was really tough, because I'm from your average, middle class town and all that stuff back home. I'm from Bayou La Batre, Alabama, by the way, which is in Mobile. And
yeah,
it was a shock. It was a shock.
That sounds absolutely shocking. Yeah. So what was one of the hardest experiences that you had?
Hardest experiences. Okay, so in the Bluff, it's always like literally, like there's so much shooting. Like there used to be. It's not really that way as much anymore. But in 2015, 2016, it was really like. It's funny because my brother and I were walking by that neighborhood recently, and he's not used to it. And he started hearing gunshots, and he was like, and I'm so accustomed to it, I didn't even hear it. So
You didn't even hear it. Wow.
no, and it
Okay.
was close enough to like make our ears ring. And I mean, I heard it, but I wasn't paying attention to it. I should say. It doesn't surprise me anymore. So it becomes so. I say that to say this. I've been shot at several times. I've been hit by a bullet that broke apart. It ricocheted, I guess you could say, and a fragment of it hit me and embedded itself into the left side of my right femur.
Oh my gosh.
And so anyway, frightening experience is definitely the first time I ever ran away from someone shooting at me. And it's just it comes with the territory. I mean, you are being marginalized, like just kind of like there's like a limited space for shelter. So here I am in the Bluff. Like I was living in a abandoned house at the time, and the place was actually being used by a gang to divide up their drugs or something like that. And we happened to be in there at the time, so we were in there when they came, pulled out their guns.
Oh my
Terrifying.
gosh.
It was my first experience, so it was terrifying.
Wow. I do have a couple of other questions.
Sure.
Okay. Let me just think of them first. Okay. So, transitioning into a little bit more of your personal story. I know we were talking about you being a creative writer.
Sure.
Do you write more like your personal stuff, or are they stories? Are they stories about homelessness ever?
I've actually, I have a.
And maybe
so-
how does that help you cope as a
Sure.
second part?
Okay, so basically the beginning, the genesis of my writing was really since I was a teenager. I've kept a journal. Back home, I have like 40, and somewhere in my mother's house, I have like 40 journals. Seriously, like it's a big stock of them. They're very like firsthand accounts of my experiences, how I'm feeling. And lately, coming on the other side of this homeless thing, I've been thinking about creating a memoir. Out of compiling my experiences. So not a mem, but like my experience of being homeless. Let's just put it that way. And so it helps me cope in that it's just like anything. It's my outlet. I'm able to, because otherwise I'm just it's boring holes in me that I can't. That is making me crazy if I can't get it out.
Wow.
So it really just it's my way of leading it out.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add, maybe some words of encouragement.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just the only thing I really could say is advice for people who see other homeless people maybe in the street, or just don't judge a book by their cover. I mean, you never know where a person's been and what's going on. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stereotypes that are true to why they exist. They exist for a reason. A lot of them do, but more often than not, you'd be surprised to, it's out there.
Surprised to find out where they've really been. Yeah.
Exactly. Certainly.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show
It was my
and
pleasure.
talking to us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. This over here, and I don't have very much. I don't have much more to say about it. The BOGO Hot Cocoa event was really the centerpiece of our efforts in this live broadcast. We were like I said, we passed out a bunch of hot cocoa, and we got some interviews, and that'll be available on the first episode of season 1 of Just the Facts podcast. So stay tuned for that. It's probably coming out in the next couple of days. Let's check if there's been any questions. I don't know how many viewers we have, and of course, questions to the floor are open. I do want to conclude with one thing, is that what I feel is a good deal of the problem is that you know, a lot of homeless people, I feel like, from my experience at least, they don't, how would I say it? Like, they don't value the social aspect of life over, as Andrew was saying, the either drug problems that they have, or sometimes the PTSD that they're facing, and really, it's our social lives that helps a lot with, you know, correcting us and making us all upstanding citizens, and we can all benefit from, you know, having a family and having friends and that kind of thing. So I don't know if you can attest to this, but do you feel like the friends that you've made have kind of helped pull you out?
Actually, as you were saying that, it rang so true. It really is so true. We're social creatures, and just isolating in the way that most homeless people are. A lot of us do become afraid in so many ways. Like, I don't know, trying to think of the phrase. But anyway, what you said really rang true. It's definitely true. I think that it's who you have around you, and can really sharpen you and dull you.
Yeah, who you have around you can really sharpen you and dull you. That's interesting that you say that, and I feel, you know, like, for those of you who are viewing it online, I don't know if you heard Andrew, but you know, we were having a discussion earlier, and it's sort of paradoxical, you know, because drug problems lead you into homelessness, which leads you into more antisocial behavior, and you know, it's kind of a vicious cycle. So we want to educate ourselves and make sure everybody knows that, like, they have a supportive community around, and, you know, having a bright future is possible. So we're gonna just, like, I don't know, take a few questions if anybody has any. And that was our 30-minute podcast. Yes, ma'am.
Can we note that this person has a drug problem?
Yeah, not every homeless person has a drug problem.
I didn't mean to make that.
It's
Me
okay.
neither.
I was just,
Me neither.
Or a mental problem. You guys didn't mention that, but that is also a
No.
stigma that is associated with homelessness, as well as the notion of them being lazy or not working,
Yes.
or working to get out of being homeless. That's not always the case. There are different variants and factors that play into each homeless person's situation. Now, yes, that may be the case, but there are others who may be on disability, and then there we go with the stigma of that. Some people are just utilizing the system. That is not always the case. Sometimes there have been misfortunate events that have happened, traumatic events, things of that nature that have happened to people by other people, and in turn, they have a mental illness. Not saying that is the only factor or cause for it, but that is a factor that plays into it. And the social well-being, you guys hit on that's also something that's very important in that, because we are social beings and we desire sociability, so that is really important.
So I'm not sure if you guys heard that. She was talking about how important it is to know that not all homeless people have a drug problem. Not all homeless people are veterans. I also heard from I don't know if this was another homeless person or my co-host. I forgot. Maybe Ty can remind me. That some of them are on the run. So some of them left their homes, and that might account for a very small percentage of the population. But
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't make that blanket statement. A lot of homeless people are, but there's really different circumstances. And I really appreciate that you mentioned that, because I get a lot, like, friends of mine who are not get that all the time. And there's a lot of assumptions that are made about homeless
All right, guys. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so from Bogo Hakoka, we were talking, homeless people around the Georgia State area, and one lady, I forget what her name was, Miss Wilkinson, something like that.
Cynthia.
Miss Cynthia, yes, and she was saying that, like, while she's there, at the park, Georgia State students. Hi guys. Hey. But
Say hello.
Georgia State students would like walk past them and like hold their nose or look down at them or like that, So like as a student or a former Georgia State student, like what do you think are some things that we can do or you can tell us too, like things that we can do as a school to like, erase that stigma of like, oh, like they're dirty or like they're people just like us, and 2 years from now that could be us, like things happen. So what are some advice or maybe some tips you think that
I have to say, like I said, I was married for 7 years. I never thought that I would be living in an abandoned house. And, well, so you're absolutely right. It come out of nowhere. Boy, I don't know. I just think more awareness is really what it's going to take. And like she just hit on this too a little bit. Like I get a lot because even now I'm not employed yet, so I'm still very much in the transfer state. The way we made money being homeless was we hold signs or whatever, and a lot of people will be like, why don't you just get a job or that? Well, there's several things that come along with getting a job. So if you need a phone for someone to call you, you have to be able to bathe. You have to have that clothes. Work. If you say you get a job in a restaurant, you're gonna have to have non-slip shoes. You have to have work clothes, so on and so forth. I've actually gotten a job before I was so desperate I didn't tell them I was homeless. I used someone else's boat. I really pulled some crazy strings just to be able to, because I was so tired of people telling me why don't you just get a job. And I want to work. I don't want to. No one wants to hold. No one gets kicks out of holding signs. It's so embarrassing, So I actually almost got fired because of my hygiene. There was nothing I could not. There was no. I was taking baths in sinks and stuff, but my clothes, there was nothing I could do, and I eventually had to leave that job. It's so difficult, a homeless person, to get a job, and the thing like housing and hygiene and so forth needs to come first, and it's so hard to make that happen. So that's the stigma that's around it. But like I said, there's awareness that really is going to do it.
Yeah, please.
And an understanding, because a lot of, not saying all, let me make sure I put that disclaimer out there, but a lot of homeless people are hurting in different ways, whether they're hurting because they're homeless or hurting before they were homeless. So that was a factor to cause their homelessness. But like, for example, some people are on the run, whether it be legally or illegally, and the age difference matters as well, as far as if they're young homeless people, if they're older homeless people, middle-aged. Some have lost their jobs, some have no social support, familial support, things of that nature. So there's different factors that play into why a person may become homeless. Yeah. So.
Certainly. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, so well, as of late, as you guys may know, there's been like a governmental shift as far as the relationship between homeless people and the government, such as police, city planning. I know that a lot of companies have bought out certain lots and sections of the city so that they can find people that are found there. So how has that relationship between homeless people and the community changed with government? Yeah,
that's actually huge. It impacts my life today. It's almost like there's a tier of society that has this okay, well, we can't get the government to do anything about these homeless people. We're going to start doing something about it. So what they'll do is, like, for example, the place that I live in right now, there's several old warehouses that were built in the turn of the century, and what they love to do is build lofts apartments out of these places. So what they're doing now is they're buying up. They've been trying to get the guy who owns the place that I live in to sell. Now, where I live at is called Atlanta Recovery Center. It's like $20 a night, but it's like so much better than a shelter. Like it's basically like an apartment. It's more or less. It's not individual like that. It's kind of open door. Yeah, but it's so much better than just being in a shelter because you have access to many things, to internet access, Wi-Fi, so on. So anyway, but there's these guys that come in all the time that are just trying to get him to sell and sell, and so he's not selling. He really loves what he does. I mean, he can. There's places for 140 people there every night, so that's a big impact on that area. And these guys are just encroaching slowly. They keep buying up this area, and there used to be this woman that slept outside of our building, and you know how cold it's been recently. She can't get in our building because it's for men, and for some reason she's having a hard time getting into these shelters. But Peace Free and Plan was just shut down for the exact reason we're talking about right now. She's been sleeping out there under all these blankets, and these guys have been calling the police on her regularly. She was just arrested for sleeping on that sidewalk like that. They came and got her in the middle of the night, 17 degrees. Attorney goes to go to jail. Yes. It's illegal to the sign thing. I've been to jail 11 times before. And I'm talking about not asking you. I have a huge thing. It's hard enough for me to do that. You know, I hate asking for anything. It drives me nuts. I've always worked for everything. You know, I'm one of 12 children. So, and I'm the oldest. So, needless to say, it's always been a struggle. I've always learned to work hard for things. Anyway, my point being that I'm not asking literally with my mouth for anything. I don't do that. It's a sign. It's like a billboard. I'm a walking billboard. And for some reason, there's no, in Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, there's zero tolerance. If they see you doing it at, say, 85 and 10th or North Avenue or wherever, go to jail. Zero tolerance. So what we've begun to do is go out to like Alpharetta and Roswell. Now they're doing it. Roswell, zero tolerance. Cumberland area, zero tolerance. We go to jail for sitting somewhere with the sign, for getting food. For me, for a long time, it was to pay that $20 a night where I stay because I'm just trying to get a job and so on and so forth. And now my little brother's homeless as well. So I'm trying to take care of him and myself at the same time. So anyway, it's just so hard because now I've been sober, by the way, for a year now. Yeah, and I'm on medication assisted treatment. I have to pay for that every day, and all these things we have to take care of. And there's just what do you do? You know, I mean, I can't go to jail because if I go to jail, then my little brother's out on the street again. He can't, you know, he's fresh on the street. He doesn't know how to do any stuff. So the medication assisted treatment, there's so many things that we affected if we went to jail. And it's just so silly. Like I said, they're encroaching in our environment. Like they just won't leave us alone. You know, I mean, I don't know what it is. It's such a, they have the power and the wealth and the prejudice and the power and the wealth kind of go together. Now, like, all right, well, we're just going to do what we want to do. So that's what's been happening lately. I'm glad you brought that up. That's seriously something that impacts me every single day.
Right.
Wow, guys. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't have any questions for you anymore, but really well done. And I don't know, hearing it firsthand from somebody is much different than watching a documentary or, you know, reading about it online. I don't know.
It's just great for me. I'm glad I'm able to let people know something. For sure.
I have a question. Cool. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I know like I don't know personally, but I can imagine that it's from your story that it's really hard, a big emotional toll on you. You know what I'm saying? So like, how did you muster up like the strength to like say, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like I have to figure it out. Because sometimes you can get complacent and just like, okay, so this is just what it is. This is going to be,
I understand what you're saying. It was very struck me one day, really. I mean, like, prior to being homeless, like I said, I was married for 7 years. I was getting a degree, college, and I was living my life. One day it just struck me that it's not for me. I mean, not for me. That's not what I mean. My life is meant for something more than that. It really was just a moment of clarity that came to me one day. And a secondary thing with my brother, he had a drug problem. Well, he's actually become sober as well. He came to me. He's seen what I've been through. He's like, "Tell me what to do. I've been guiding the process." But I just couldn't do it. I mean, I'll be 30 in 3 weeks. Like I was 28 when I started trying to get sober. 29 when I read, actually pulled off, but and getting off the street and so on and so forth. I was just like, I don't want to be 40 and doing this, you know. And it's not an easy thing for everyone. Like, and it wasn't. I'm not saying it was easy. What I'm saying is like I just had to do it. It was just something I had to do. And like I wouldn't accept no for an answer. Like I just, and it was been a long, really like I've only been sober for a year. I've been working on it half year. Yeah. So.
One day at a time, though.
Right, really, it truly is. And I can't say I regret a moment of all this. That comes, I'm really purposing my suffering by, I've chosen to learn from it. I'm not letting it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Okay. So, just to wrap up, we had a great time, putting this together. Thanks a lot for tuning in, for those of you who did. And thank you to Andrew Roberts for coming in. All right. Just the facts tuning out. Thanks a lot.